Bhagavatam Samma Sambuddho Swagato Supatipanno Yasa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Dhammayam Bhagavanta Sagaman Sasana Ime Sadare Yagara Arudite Abhipujayama Sadhuno Bande Bhagava Sujira Varini Bhutopi Pajima Janata Nugam Brahmanasa Ime Sakare Dugata Panaka Prabhute Patiganatu Amatandi Garatam Etaya Sukhaya Arang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivadi Swagato Bhagavata Namo Dhammanamasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghan Namami Mayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Bhagavatanamakarangaro Mase Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So, very nice to see you all again. So please, everyone, cameras on so I can keep my beady eye on you. And everyone now, sit up well. Make both body and mind alert, everyone here, everyone online. And you close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, you leave behind whatever you've been doing, thinking about, worrying about. You put it all behind you and you leave it. And we commence by bringing to mind the Buddha, our great teacher and inspiration, recollecting his perfect mind. A mind that was quite free of any form of defilement and even far away, far distant from anything of that kind, any form of greed, hatred, or delusion. It was a mind, too, of infinite compassion. a truly great and wonderful being, perfect in knowledge and conduct. Now, when you think of the Buddha, when you happen to see a Buddha Rupa, be inspired and do your best to train your mind too, to be free of these defilements and to enable you to be clear of all suffering. And approach this path of transformation with a mind of loving kindness, especially for yourself. And remember always to be kind to yourself and caring of yourself. And don't forget to rejoice in your merits, in your good qualities. And to be able to accept yourself. And likewise be kind and caring of others. Appreciate their good qualities and accept them too. And now we must just take a moment to remind ourselves of the reality of our human condition. As we live this life all the time, we are growing older. And there's no stopping this, no possibility of putting a halt to it. It goes on and on. And our existence is a precarious one because we can catch something, become hurt by something or other, or in some way or another. Something can go wrong within us, some part of us that we hardly ever knew existed. And all this at almost any time. And then whatever happens, sooner or later, we will die. And so will everyone else, everyone we know. This is it. It's a realm of birth and death. We're subject to aging, to sickness and death. And we can do nothing about this, except we can change our minds, change our attitude to it all. And that's what our meditation practice is designed to do. So, make sure you always have a good posture. You're sitting up. Posture affects mind. So your mind needs to be well balanced, neither too tense nor too sloppy. And your posture ought to be likewise alert and balanced. And remember, you have to be now absolutely still. Your body absolutely still. And your mind also. And to effect that, gather and concentrate your mind. First of all, be aware of your posture, aware of your body. And then focus on your breathing. And be quite clear where and how you perceive the breath. And try to keep your mind, keep your attention just there. Now, you may find your mind wanting to go off in some other direction. Don't allow it. Keep your attention just with your breath. And every breath is quite new, really and truly quite unique. Remember to be still, and if you catch your mind wandering, or you suddenly realize that you've been thinking or dreaming, then acknowledge what you're experiencing. And just pay brief attention to it. Just look at, very briefly, your thinking or feeling or hearing or whatever it is, and let it go. And find the breath again. And again, make that effort to keep your mind just lightly on each in-breath and each out-breath. So please stay sitting perfectly just as you are, except that in the next few minutes, while I'm talking, make listening your practice. And do understand that listening to the Dhamma is an important Buddhist practice. But you have to listen properly, which means you just listen. You don't attempt to remember what you hear or argue in your mind about anything I've said. You don't have to accept or reject. You simply have to listen. So I spoke the other night about Anapanasati, mindfulness of the in and out breath. And I drew attention to a concern I have that this tendency nowadays to talk about breath meditation can be misleading and discourage people, I think, from really making the effort to concentrate and still the mind. It's an important practice. It's one the Buddha himself did, and it's a technique, a practice that he spoke about and recommended. I know it's sometimes thought of as a kind of beginner's practice. You start off learning to make your mind reasonably quiet, and then later you can go on to the more interesting stuff. But that's a mistake. This practice can take you all the way to enlightenment. But you have to do it well. And that requires some effort and commitment. And you will have to learn to deal sometimes with your wandering mind. And the best way, I think, is to simply acknowledge when your mind wanders. The advantage of this is that when you acknowledge, when you just pay brief attention to whatever it is, you begin to learn something. That bare attention that you give to your thinking or feeling or hearing or whatever it might be enables you to observe that whatever it is not static, but changing. And the Buddha made clear that with the practice of Anapanasati, you can be mindful of all four of the four foundations of mindfulness. And so Anapanasati kind of bridges the twin styles of practice of meditation of samatha and vipassana. These two come together, which they really need to, because they are kind of mutually supportive. Now, why do we do this? Why is it necessary to cultivate our minds? Which is what this is about. It's cultivating and developing your mind. Why should we do this? Well, I know some people will immediately suggest that it's because many people have troubled minds, minds that are depressed or tense, various kinds of experiences which are uncomfortable. And it's perfectly true that concentrating your mind on the breathing can make you feel calmer and better. But there's more to it. And essentially, we cultivate our mind because when the mind is uncultivated, when the mind is undeveloped, then it's a constant prey to greed, hatred, and delusion. and all the variations on those basic defilements. Our minds are spoilt. And at any time, greed, hatred, or delusion can burn us. And it does. They do, of course. The Buddha pointed out that when there is greed, hatred, and delusion, lobha, dosa, moha, then there will be killing and violence. There will be theft. There will be various forms of sexual misconduct. There will be lying, deceit, and deception. And people will be encouraging you in those ways. That's what comes from greed, hatred, and delusion. Nothing good comes from these three. And essentially, of course, greed and hatred are two sides of a similar coin, of the same coin. And they're the products of delusion. Delusion convinces you that some things are good, some things are desirable, and some things are not. Some things are attractive and some things are a threat. And all the time we carry with us this tendency to misunderstand. And it's a real problem for us. That's what our mind is like when it's not cultivated, when it's not developed. And the undeveloped mind, the cultivated, uncultivated mind, clearly is a mind which brings trouble. And obviously, that means we suffer. And so we have to make the effort to do something about our minds. When our minds are uncultivated, then clearly the karma we make is not going to be a skillful one. We're not building a good future for ourselves. So we have to do something about developing our minds. In the first instant, of course, learning to concentrate them, at least to some degree, and calm them down. We make them fit. And then as they become fit, they become useful. And we can use them to pay attention, to observe, and to examine the nature of our experiences. And in time, we gradually accumulate insight and understanding. And thus, we change our minds. And that's essentially what we're trying to do. This is a path, a way of transformation. We're changing ourselves, changing our minds for the better. Changing ourselves, changing our minds so that ultimately we don't suffer anymore. We get over that. And we're making this effort too in preparation for death. Now, this may not have occurred to you, but the way that we live our life will affect the way that we die. And I know that the tendency is to think of dying and death as, well, that's the end of it. That's when things are running down. It doesn't matter too much. It's sooner we get it over with, the better. It's unimportant. But that's not true. That's not right. Death is a part of living. And the whole process of dying is important to us because it brings a rebirth. And the process of dying is, of course, a traumatic experience. But what happens depends on those last moments, which depend on how you've lived your life. So the cultivation of mind has far-reaching consequences. Now, whether you believe that or not, still, obviously, developing your mind makes for a better life. So do it. Learn to examine yourself. Learn to develop understanding of the nature of your being. Learn to be able to let go of desire and attachment. In short, learn to be happy. That, I think, is enough from me for tonight. We'll sit for just a moment or two longer, and in these closing moments, please bring to mind loving kindness. Gather and concentrate your mind on loving kindness. May you and all beings be well and happy. May you and all beings be free from all suffering. May you and all beings realize for yourselves the secure peace of Nibbana. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Amivadi Swagato Bhagavanta Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. So thank you all very much for coming. Been very nice to see you all. I hope you have a good week and we'll meet again soon. So, good night.